May seeks a European partnership, a Hoover backs Brexit, and do we have too many coffee shops? I'm Max and welcome to the EB podcast. So, as I said in the start, we've got a lot to get to, but to start off, Rees-Mogg has been back in the news today. He said in an interview with LBC when someone called in and questioned him about food banks, he said donations to food banks are uplifting. I personally agree with him on this. The government has been cutting quite a few public services, and services particularly to poor people come as part of those cuts, which is a necessary evil in many cases, some would argue. But it is important, in my opinion, to find different charitable ways, private charity, that's people like you and me giving to those less fortunate, to help those who are less fortunate. So Mogg said that the state can't do everything, the government can't do everything, which is true, of course. The state must also help those in need, in my opinion, should help those at the bottom of the ladder just to get them on in life so that they can carry on and make a success of it themselves rather than relying on the state for everything. So private charity can fill the void, in my opinion, that government cuts have left. Now, speaking of filling a void, May announced today, almost called her Bay, May announced today that she is going to be giving a speech about us leaving the void when we leave the EU. Her Brexit speech is going to be on the 22nd of September in Florence, the beautiful island in Italy. 3 days before Brexit talks resume on the 25th of September. And I think it will be a good opportunity for her to ease tensions. EU negotiators have said that the UK negotiators are producing a slow process. They're slowing down the process. They're not giving in to concessions. But I think they should look at themselves and consider if it is their fault. Because they, of course, don't seem to want us to speed up the process. They're not looking as if they want to help us get a deal. A lot of slandering going on from Juncker and his associates. But James Dyson, who's the owner of Dyson Hoovers, has given a big message in terms of business. He said he doesn't expect a Brexit deal, but he doesn't see this as a bad thing. He thinks we could use the World Trade Organization, as I said yesterday, to strike deals with other countries, other free trade deals, normal trade deals, low tariff deals. Different UK manufacturers can establish different production lines, different ways of getting their products out to different countries, ways of getting supplies in at cheaper cost. We can form our own path through Brexit. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops throughout the Brexit process, whether we will get a deal eventually. You know, the EU negotiators and David Davis will pull their respective fingers out and get a deal, or we'll go down Dyson's route and form our own way. Of course, I back Britain to succeed either way. Moving on to Trump now, the US president is looking to purposefully go against his party again, to secure the safety of dreamers. These are the children of illegal immigrants in the United States. It's believed to be a few 100,000 of those. He has, as part of the deal with the Democrats, he's increased border funding or border security funding, but he has not increased funding or got any funding for his ward, one of his key campaign promises. I'm not very surprised by him going against the Republicans. He spent a lot of time with Democrats in New York at Democratic, their sort of liberal elite swanky parties and things like that. And I know, and he probably finds him easier to work with, seeing as he's been around the most of his life in New York. He does want to get a deal done, especially when hurricane relief for Irma is involved, so that he can be seen to be helping with that. That's how he's worked all his life. He's got a deal that he wants to get done, and he's done whatever is necessary to succeed. So I'm sure I'll be talking more about the fallout from this and what happens next week or even this weekend during the weekend show. I'm going to move on now to some more news from today. there was a record number of terror arrests. Even if you take away the attack-related arrests from this year, there have been 100 more arrests than this time last year. So the figure now is 100. Is 100 arrests bigger than it was at this time last year. This is both good and bad news. The good news is that it shows that police are efficient in keeping up with the increased threat, even though they have been cut. The service has been cut. It is bad, though, of course. The bad news is that there's a risk from this increased threat to see the numbers jump up like this. The police, of course, have made sure that they tell the public to stay calm, which I think is important to do. But I'm certainly glad that police are doing a good job. So, on to business now, a bit of business news. City investors say today that coffee shop expansion in the UK is reaching a saturation point, or could be reaching a saturation point within the next 5 years. There are 22,000 coffee shops in the UK, pumping out 2.3 billion cups of coffee per year. About a quarter of those are probably me with double espressos. We will reach a point eventually, though, where supply does start to exceed demand when you have more and more coffee shops producing. And of course, this will cause problems in the market, as it always does. Businesses will have sales shortages, revenue shortages. They'll have to cut costs, or they'll have to close down stores. But that is just a part of the natural market process, so I don't have any problem with that. Some more business news. The pound surged today. This is good news after Brexit-related falls earlier in the year, where John Lewis, as it was reported today, profits fell by a half as a result of those earlier falls. So this will be some good news for them, as well as some good news for currency traders and the rest of British business. The Culture Secretary, Karen Bradley, also said today she will launch a report into Sky's takeover bid by Fox, that's the company in America, and Rupert Murdoch, to see if it is viable and breaches any rules. For example, if sales exceed sales revenue exceeds 25% of the market share, then the government will consider it a monopoly, which they don't want, due to the fact that the potential effects on people like you and I if companies start to extort us for what we have. So I will be back this weekend, where I have more on the week's news, as well as a look forward to the week ahead. And not to jinx it, but I'll probably have some sort of story on North Korea for you as well. As always, I'm Max, and thank you for watching the EB podcast. I'll see you on Sunday.